We're on. Welcome all to this ordinary council meeting of Armidale Regional Council of the 22nd of February. Can I call upon Councillor O'Brien to civic affirmation?
We, the councillors of the Armidale region, declare that we will undertake the duties of office of councillor in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. And can I call upon Councillor Redwood to give us the acknowledgement of country?
Thank you. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. The Armidale regional community pays tribute to their love of land, love of people and love of culture.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. I'll call upon the General Manager to make a statement regarding live streaming.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. And could all mobile phones please be turned to silent? Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. I have not received any apologies or requests for leave, although I do note that Councillors Witters and McMichael are joining us via Zoom. Which brings us to disclosure of interest. So, councillors, having reviewed the agenda, do any of you need to declare a conflict of interest? Councillor Packen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In reference to item 10.2 of the reports, corporate and community, as a participant in the expression of interest issued by council and as a supplier under commercial terms to the recommended party, being to be awarded the expression of interest, I declare a pecuniary interest and intend to leave the chamber during discussion and voting.
Thank you, Councillor Packen. That's noted. Councillors, we come to item 5.1, which is the confirmation of the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on 14 December 2022 and the minutes, so that's the ordinary council meeting of 14th of December 2022 and the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 30th of January. Can I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Redwood, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mepham. Any comment from anyone? All right, let's put that to a vote that the minutes be accepted. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare that carried. Councillors, we come to items 6, which is the mayoral minute. Now, before I get to the mayoral minute, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the recent passing of 2 former mayors of Armidale, Armidale Regional, Armidale City, and so on. So, Councillors Rosemary Leach, or Mayor Rosemary Leach, and Mayor Claude Canero both passed since our last ordinary council meeting. I think it's appropriate that we just acknowledge that. Item 6.1, which is recognising the achievements of Richard Deakin, or better known as Tony Deakin. He's been a significant contributor to this region. I endorse the content of the minute. However, due to some behind-the-scenes administrative issues, I'm going to withdraw the mayoral minute, or move to withdraw it, and put it up at the March Ordinary Council meeting. So I'd like to move that. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Redwood. All those in favour of deferring? Thank you. I'll declare that carried unanimously. All right. Councillors, item 7.1 is the Council Actions Report, which summarises the actions taken on resolutions of Council for the period from January 2022 to January 2023. Council is being asked to note this report. The details are from page 12 of the agenda and page 26 of the attachment. Can I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Robinson. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Robinson, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a small comment about the delays in the simpler financial information, because I'm sure that that would have helped residents understand the need for an SRV. And it's also a problem that businesses and commercial enterprises need rules about accounting depreciation as an expense, because otherwise they'd be paying too much tax. But local government doesn't pay tax, and assets are often provided by grant funding. So there are better ways to understand our finances. And the classic example is the 1.9 million of depreciation for the rural fire service assets. And if people didn't know better, they might think that that would mean we are 1.93 million worse off than we really are. So we really, really do need simpler financial information to help our community understand what's going on and to help councillors make informed decisions. So I do hope that sooner or later that will come into being. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor O'Connor, anything to add?
No, but I do want to support what Councillor Robinson has said. Only this morning I bumped into some people loudly discussing council finances on their footpaths, and I stepped over and introduced myself and we had a good old chat. But the outcome of that really is that people don't understand. For example, they thought that the money for the Dumaric Dam was coming out of the general fund and was an optional expenditure. So if we could, hop along with this sounder and simpler financial information to the community, I think, these misunderstandings would not happen. So I do support Councillor Robinson's sentiments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Well, councillors, if there's nothing further, let's put this to a vote, that we note the council actions report. All those in favour? Thank you. And I declare that carried unanimously as well. All right, councillors, we now move to item 8.1, which is the 2022-23 second quarter budget review. So the report provides council with a revised budget position with details from page 13 of the agenda and page 41 of the attachments. Now, in this item, it'll be up on the screen, council is being asked to note the review, note the proposed revised cash forecast, note the proposed deficit budget, and resolve to adopt the amendments for the 22-23 budget. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Robinson, seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gadders. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, just make a similar comment that I'm very happy to note the figures in the budget review, but also note that the 1.93 million of our operating deficit relates to depreciation of rural fire service assets. And also note that we're expecting another 3.8 million in pothole funding and road repair funding, which makes a total difference of 5.7 million from the figures reported in our papers. And depending on how much of this can be spent in this financial year, our general fund might even be up to $800,000 in surplus. And then when you add in the water and sewage surplus, that could make up to total surplus of 4 million, unless I'm very much mistaken. So I will really look forward to the coming out of the next budget review in the next quarter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Gadders, you were with a second or anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to simply state, thanks very much to the staff for bringing this together. And as this is a QBR review up to the period of the 31st of December 22, that's how the figures stand at that point in time. We obviously need to understand any pluses or minuses adjustments in the next QBR review. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Packham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the mover and the seconder for their opening comments and support for the budget. Of course, we support a budget review. However, I think in simplistic terms, I'm still concerned that in the operating fund that's presented as 190,000 deficit that wasn't predicted or is required. As I understand it, this isn't the last grab that potentially, and notwithstanding the windfalls that might come to the general fund through this other funding, is that this represents another step outside of the expenditure authority. It's okay for the seconder to say, well, that's where we stand, that's where we've drawn a line today, but the budget review is a process, and the budget review as detailed in our reports, talks about trying to contain our spending. And let's say the budget was a spending authority, and each time we do this budget review, we keep being asked to step again, step again, step again. Sometimes that's fortuitous, but in this case, and for the last quarter, it's a deficit situation. 190,000 might not seem so much, but that's another, 20 or so ratepayers that of the pool that we haven't got. The last time it was 1.5 million in the general fund, and that relates to about another 75 to 100 ratepayers of the general rate pool that we haven't added and don't have authority to do. Budgeting is an art. It's coin a phrase, it was a black art by one of my colleagues, and that's the creation of a budget. It is an art because you're trying to convince the ratepayers and the punters that that's what we need to spend to get the community outcomes there. But the curation of a budget is not. The curation and the restoration of budgets is a science. The report before us talks about trying to contain the budget. If you can't find it in that particular program, try and find it in one of your other programs to save, to do the offset. If you can't do that, try and beg, borrow and steal from one of your colleagues. But generally, the principle is to live within your means. And I just don't think that we've got that discipline here. On the 28th of September, equally, this chamber voted to add $60,000 to the budget in support of the good work that the neighbourhood centre provides. And I asked the question whether that was going to come from savings identified elsewhere. And the answer was that no, that would be done in a quarterly budget review, which in essence just said, let's add another $60,000 to the ticker. Well, it didn't come in the first quarter budget review that we looked at in October or November, and I don't believe it's in there now. So we actually have another $60,000 on top of the 190, if I'm right, if it has been omitted or overlooked. That's not there now. So now we're at 250,000. That's another bunch of taxpayers, ratepayers that need to pony up with this cash to keep us even. And I guess it's about what is going forecast. We know electricity prices. We know that fuel prices have gone up. But the budget review is about, and as it says in the document, trying to understand where we will land, but equally at the same time asking the ratepayers to come on that journey with us with those costs. And so what we don't have here in front of me, which is something that concerns me, is we don't have a crystal ball, no, but what we don't have is, okay, knowing where we are now, given our forecasts, are we going to blow out further? Or actually, as Dorothy Robinson says, maybe there's a windfall in the game, but it's not reflected in any of this review. So all I need to urge councillors to understand that you are extending the expenditure authority of this council and therefore relying on the ratepayers that extra deficit that comes before us when you're considering this. It's not just a review because that's where we stand today. This is meant to say that at the end of June 30, we're looking at a 4.9 million deficit in the general fund, which has to be funded. And one day we might come to realise that we've got to do this exercise as if we had nothing in the bank, and only what's in the bank that's authorised is what we spend.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Any other councillors? Does our mover wish to wrap anything up? Okay. All right, councillors, per the recommendation on the screen, I'll put this, let's go to a vote. All those in favour of per the recommendation? So 1, 2, thank you. 4, I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, I'd like to do items 8.2 and 8.3 concurrently. So these are the cash and investment reports for the period 31 January 2023 and 31 December 2022. They provide an overview of the cash and investments for those periods with details from page 22 of the agenda. Council is being asked in both those items, asked to note the report. Can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Redwood, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gillespie. Councillor Redwood, anything to say? No. Councillor Gillespie? No. Based on that, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour of noting those two reports? Thank you. Declare that carried unanimously. We now come to item 10.1. This is the Child Safe Organisational Standards and Action Plan. This report informs the governing body of Council of Armidale Regional Council's obligations under the Child Safe Standards. So details are from page 36 of the agenda and 62 of the attachments. There is a recommendation on the screen where Council is being asked to endorse the Child Safe Action Plan for review by the Children's Guardian, and then once approved by the Children's Guardian, implement the plan across Council. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Robinson, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Anything to say, Councillor Robinson?
Well, I'd actually just like to ask one question as well, which is that the standard actually refers to some sort of support from other levels of government. Is there any information about what that support would be?
I'll refer to Chief Officer Schaefer.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson, through you, Mr. Chair. There is no, it's not clear what that support will be, but I'll take that on notice and find out. Thanks.
Thank you. And the other comment I had was just simply, you know, how far does our responsibility go? For example, does child safety include, for example, an asthmatic child living in this, affected by somebody else's air pollution in the central area?
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I think I'll refer to Chief Officer Schaefer, but he might need to take that on notice. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Robinson, you'll just have to...
Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I will take that on notice as well. But largely this comes to us from the Royal Commission into Child Abuse. So I'll see how far that extends. Thanks.
That was my only questions, and otherwise I support it. And I'm very, very pleased to know that all the references in the original document to Mid Coast Council have now been removed.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Any other comment, councillors?
I just would like to be kept informed as we go along. I understand the implementation and this policy or this Child Safe Action Plan has to go to the Children's Guardian for approval. I'm just asking that we will be kept informed as to how that progresses over the next 12 months, because I believe that's the implementation period. So it's a big new area. It's mandatory, so we don't really have a choice. So I think it would be good for councillors to be kept informed as to the progress of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor, and I'm sure Chief Officer Schaefer will note that. All right, councillors, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of per the recommendation? I declare that one carried unanimously. This brings me to item 10.2, where Councillor Packham was going to excuse himself from the chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I have leave to leave the chamber.
This item is in relation to a recommendation for the cafe tenant at Armidale Airport. So details are on page 41 of the agenda. The recommendation on the screen is asking council to note the independent process for selecting a tenant, endorse a preferred proponent, note that unbudgeted capital expenditure to ready the space will be made via adjustments to the quarterly budget review process, and note that the tenant will have the option to transfer the liquor licence to enable the cafe to serve alcohol. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Gadders. A seconder, Councillor Galletley. Councillor Gadders, anything you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few words. For some time now, the community's asked for the council to get the airport cafe up and operational again. The growing region key pillar working group has taken up that task. An independent evaluation was run by a local estate agent requesting expressions of interest from potential cafe operators. While there was various interested parties, only 2 operators ended up submitting a response to the EOI. The evaluation used a scorecard method, which people can see enclosed in the business papers themselves. The scorecard method evaluation resulted in one operator coming into first place. I also wanted to note this point that any of the commercials have been removed from this public document, so not as to bias either of the operators, either in their current business operations or their future business operations. So the recommendation that you see before you in the business paper is to endorse the operator that came in on that first place in the scorecard of the evaluation process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gadders. Councillor O'Connor.
I would just want to say what I've actually articulated before in a briefing session, and that is that I don't think that this matter should. It's basically a tender or procurement matter. I think it's of commercial in nature, and it ought to be in a closed session. That's my first point. My second point is that I don't think that there's anything like sufficient transparency afforded by the table in page 42 to allow us to be assure ourselves that this process was done to our satisfaction. And thirdly, I don't think that in a case like this, with a relatively small community, I think if you're going to go external for the process, you need to go much more external than just another business in Armidale. And I would say that it ought to have gone either to a business, and not necessarily a real estate agency, but a business that does tendering procedures in Sydney or Brisbane or some other capital city, or Newcastle, but definitely out of region, so that we can be assured that the process was very much objective. So I'm not really comfortable with the process, and this is a new thing that a key pillar working group would be the one to assess this in detail. So anyway, I'm just not comfortable, but it's up to the council. Thanks.
Thank you. Was there a question in there? I mean, if you're talking about the key pillar group and the process?
No, it was a statement.
Okay.
This is the first time that such a decision, I think, has been, or the process has gone through a key pillar working group, and I'm just a little bit uncertain that that's the right way to do it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Redwood.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr Mayor. I mean, as a clarification, Councillor O'Connor, the key pillar working group tasked itself to get the airport cafe operation going. That was one of our objectives as a group. And to do that, we spoke to the staff, and the staff took care and outsourced that process. Is your rationale for outsourcing that further than Armidale because one of our fellow councillors was involved, the business? So in that case, why would we not be outsourcing every tendering process? Because often, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but often we've got many local businesses operating or tendering for services, and I just don't understand what the complicating factor is here, other than one of our fellow councillors is involved.
Councillor Robinson, can you please turn your device off for a sec?
Sorry. Look, I've said what I've said. This is not a forum for me to be cross-examined. I do think it's a different case, and the points I made are interconnected, and one of them is that this should have been dealt with in private, in my opinion. But that's all.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, no, I just wanted, before we have a vote, to have a better description or interpretation of the table on the bottom of page 43 of the business paper, because you've got an income from an improved budget of 148,000 and repairs and maintenance of 95,000, and I'm informed that doesn't relate to this particular project, and maybe the information, the what we're relating to in this particular project is what's under the column proposed, i.e. no rent in year one and $23,000 expenses. And if that's, can you confirm that that is the correct interpretation?
Thank you. I'm going to throw to Chief Officer Schaefer again.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Robinson, and well done on interpreting the table. So your assumption is correct. The two line items don't relate. One is an income line item, and it represents income that is generated from the airport in all leasing arrangements. The other is a repairs and maintenance line item for which we are reserving some funds to ready the space in preparation for the tenant to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, if there's nothing further, and if oh, sorry, Councillor Witters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just commenting from some of the other comments from other councillors. I agree with Councillor O'Connor in regards to that. I think this probably should have been dealt in the closed session, but that's neither here nor there now. My other concern is I really do like the fact that the Key Pillar Working Group is working towards getting a tenant up at the airport. I think it's something that the community's been wanting for a while. My concern with this is that before this proposal was put up, I think it should have been, the results and the process should have been delivered to the councillors within a briefing session, because there was and is a few unanswered questions that can't be really answered now and are asked now, and we're just being forced to make a yes/no decision on something that we don't have a lot of information on, and the table that's presented doesn't really present me with enough information for me to be confident about the whole process. So maybe it's a learning curve, maybe it's something we can do better, but I think this, if any group, key working group has something like this, and it should either the minutes from their meeting or a briefing session for all councillors, so all councillors have the right information before being forced into a yes/no vote on that decision, would be handy next time.
Witters. All right, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of accepting what's on the screen? 1, 2, 3. So those against? 1. So I'll declare that carried 9-1. Thank you. Brad, if you could. No.
No, it was a 4.
Councillor Witters was for. It was Councillor Mepham was against. Thank you. Welcome back, Councillor Packham. Councillors, we now move to the committee reports. We have reports from 2 committees, the Aboriginal Advisory Committee and the Traffic Committee. I'd like to do items 13.1 and 13.3 together, being the minutes from the Traffic Advisory Committee of 6 December 2022 and 7th of February 2023, where council is being asked to note the minutes, details pages 45 and 53. Councillor, I'll call for a mover, but if Councillor McMichael is live and would like to speak to those, would you like to move this?
Yes, I will. I'm happy to move them. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor McMichael, would you like to speak to those minutes, just what's been happening?
We have had a number of events that have been occurring in the district, in the region. The Guyra Lamb and Potato Festival was great. we're looking forward to the Autumn Festival, the revamped Autumn Festival, which hasn't been around for ages, and we're looking forward for people to put in the floats, and the float applications have just started, so go online and plan your float. Kempsey Road has been closed to everybody except for local traffic, and we're not sure how long that is going to last for, but road works are being planned, so we're grateful that the road is being fixed. I think they're the main points. So thank you.
All right, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour of noting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. And the next item is item 13.2, the minutes from the Aboriginal Advisory Committee held on 15 September 2022. Could I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. A seconder. Thanks, Councillor O'Connor. Councillor O'Brien, anything to say there?
Oh, not much. I mean, people can read it themselves, but I suppose the big ongoing project is the putting together of the Reconciliation Action Plan while implementing aspects of the Close the Gap, which was tabled at the last, I think it was the last meeting or the meeting before. So the Close the Gap implementation plan, which New South Wales government has sent to the council. Other than that, issues like the bus stop at the Noan Reserve and the need to participate in the community engagement on that. But yeah, generally there was plenty going on, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Well, councillors, let's put this to a vote. Those in favour of noting those minutes? Thank you. I declare that carried unanimously. Councillors, I don't have any notices of motion, any questions on notice or confidential matters. So, Councillor O'Connor.
I just noticed that the urgent matters agenda item isn't here.
The urgent matters. No, you might be right there, Councillor O'Connor.
Well, that'd be surprising.
Based on that, would you like to raise an urgent matter?
Look, I would just like to mention and make a comment in relation to the letter that we've received from the I've forgotten his name now, but from the Regional Roads Minister accepting our application to amend our application for pothole money, I think, in relation to both sealed and unsealed roads. And I especially congratulate the staff and Councillor Robinson for being so adept in noticing that there might have been some more money from that source, and indeed there was. So that's a great outcome. And the second thing I wanted to just mention is it possible for council to support the resolutions that are being put forward in relation to the primary health care problems that have been in the progress that's been made in relation to Hunter New England Health Region being agreed to by the federal government as the next rollout of the Murrumbidgee model for single employer employment of trainee GPs. I guess I don't know how to do this really because I haven't put a motion on, but just if there's some way that we could offer our support maybe in the next meeting, because I'm sure that it won't be resolved. But certainly there's been a lot of really strong, excellent community action in that field, and pretty exciting to think that at least it's been agreed that we will be another, what do they call them, another trial site anyway, a trial district health area to have this Murrumbidgee model or single employer model rolled out. It's a big thing, and maybe we can lend our support to that.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. I'm sure we can. I think the announcement came out probably the day that the business paper was released. was mid last week. So we might discuss the best avenue forward and whether it's via one of the key pillar working groups that has been
Mr.
working.
Mayor,
Yes.
Councillor Witters and I are both on the key pillar working group, which works on that. So perhaps he and I and the key pillar working group can organise a motion before next month's meeting.
Yeah, that's where I was heading that conversation. So I'm happy to throw that to you. And councillors, if there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 4:35. Thank you very much.